Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Iram Imran, Professor and Head of Department Physiology at FRPMC. My email address is drergunimran@gmail.com. Today is the third lecture of neurosciences, that is the electrical events in the neuron. If you find any query, you can contact me on my email address. Now let's discuss the learning objectives. At the end of the lecture, the student should be able to discuss different gated ion channels, discuss RMP or the resting membrane potential in a typical neuron, discuss the types of electrical signals in a neuron, discuss graded potential and its types in a neuron, discuss how EPSP and IPSP are produced, discuss the summation of graded potential, discuss the simultaneous summation of inhibitory and excitatory postsynaptic potentials. Now, the gated ion channels, as you all must be remembering from your lectures in the nerve and muscle physiology, that ion channels, they are of two types, gated and non-gated. The non-gated ion channels, they are always open and they are also known as the leak channels. But the gated ion channels, they are responsible for the production of graded potential and the action potential. And the leak channels, they are responsible for the generation of the resting membrane potential. The gated ion channels, out of which the voltage gated channels, they are responsible for the generation of action potential, and the ligand and mechanically gated channels, they are responsible for the graded potential. So here we can see the minus 70 is actually the resting membrane potential of the neuron. Resting membrane potential of the neuron is about minus 70, and then about at minus 55 is the threshold. From here, from the RMP till the threshold, it is achieved by the opening of ligand gated or mechanically gated, and a local potential is generated, which is known as the graded potential, which bring the membrane towards the threshold. Once the threshold is reached, the voltage gated channels open. The first channels to open, they are the voltage gated sodium channels. Sodium moves inside, and which causes the membrane potential to become positive from a threshold value towards positivity. And then at the peak of the action potential, the voltage gated potassium channels open and the potassium then leak out, and then the membrane potential reaches towards the RMP. And at the RMP, the voltage gated potassium channels, they do not close because they are slow to open and slow to close. So it gives a negative potential, which is known as the hyperpolarization. And then the RMP is restored by the help of sodium potassium pump. So RMP in a typical neuron is about minus 70 millivolts, and that RMP is achieved by the leak channels, and the leakage of sodium and potassium both is responsible for the generation of RMP, but high potassium permeability is more potassium permeable during the resting state. So potassium far more contributes to the development of RMP as compared to sodium. Okay, and this RMP is maintained by the sodium potassium pump. Threshold in the neuron is about minus 55 millivolts. So once a threshold is reached, the action potential will be fired. So this minus 70 is the resting membrane potential in the neuron. Minus 55 is the threshold value. Then this is the phase which is known as the depolarization phase. This is the peak of action potential. Then opening of voltage gated potassium channel results in depolarization. The voltage gated potassium channel are slow to open and slow to close. They close slowly, creating a negative potential, which is known as hyperpolarization. And then this RMP is again maintained by means of the sodium potassium pump. Now the graded potential is the local change in resting membrane potential when a subthreshold stimulus is applied. So when stimulus causes the opening of ligand or chemically gated channels, there is a change in membrane potential. Either it becomes more negative or less negative, and its magnitude depends on the intensity of the stimulus. That's why it's known as the graded potential. Okay, so it does not propagate, it sends signals at a short distance. In neurons, graded potential occurs most often in the dendrites, at this level, in the dendrites and in the soma, and less often in the axons. So graded potential has got different name at different places. For example, in the receptor, the graded potential developed is known as the receptor potential. In the neurons, it is known as excitatory postsynaptic potential or EPSP. If it is inhibitory, it is known as inhibitory postsynaptic potential. If it is developing at the end plate potential, it is known as the so if it is developing at the end plate of the neuromuscular junction, it is known as the end plate potential. So the graded potential does not propagate, it propagates in a decremental fashion and it sends signals at a short distance. It does not obey all or none law and it depends on the intensity of the stimulus. Its magnitude depends on the intensity of the stimulus. More intensity of the stimulus, more will be the value of graded potential, and when this graded potential reaches a threshold value, it will fire the action potential. Okay, now the postsynaptic potentials, that are the graded potentials which is generated in the postsynaptic neuron. Now when the postsynaptic ionic channels, they are open either directly or indirectly, the postsynaptic potential is generated in a postsynaptic neuron, and this is known as a postsynaptic potential, PSP, and this postsynaptic potential is of two types. Either it may be the excitatory postsynaptic potential, which is EPSP, or it is the inhibitory postsynaptic potential, or IPSP. So now let's see how EPSP or excitatory postsynaptic potential develops. As you all know that the presynaptic terminal, this is the presynaptic neuron, it releases a neurotransmitter. This neurotransmitter go and bind with the receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane. So EPSP is produced when a neurotransmitter opens the sodium and calcium channels. If sodium channels, here the example of sodium channels is given, and a neurotransmitter is glutamate. So when a neurotransmitter is released from the presynaptic terminal, it binds with the receptor and open the ligand gated channels, which are over here the sodium channels. So when a ligand or the neurotransmitter comes and bind with the postsynaptic receptors, sodium channels or the calcium channels, they are open up in the postsynaptic neuron, which causes the influx of sodium. The sodium moves inside and the membrane becomes depolarized. The potential reaches towards the threshold value, and then this potential, here you can see in this diagram that once the neurotransmitter has causes the influx of sodium ions, now the wave of depolarization, it reaches the trigger zone. Okay, but it travels in a decremental fashion because it's the type of graded potential. So the potential developed in this postsynaptic neuron due to opening of calcium or sodium channel is known as excitatory postsynaptic potential. Why it is excitatory? Because it is causing the membrane to reach towards the threshold value. So towards the threshold, but once this threshold value is present at the trigger zone, the action potential will be fired only at the trigger zone. Okay, now this interior of the soma and the dendrite, it consists of highly conductive type of electrolytic solution. So the current transfer, the current is spread directly, okay, due to the ion conduction without the generation of action potential. But action potential is generated at the trigger zone, which is nothing but it is the combination of both the initial segment of the axon and axon hillock. Now this current is moving from the soma and dendrites towards the trigger zone in the decremental fashion, and the ions, they leak out because the membrane is permeable to ions, so they leak out. So the current decreases by the reaches the axon by the time it reaches the trigger zone. So what happened? if it is at a threshold value at the trigger zone, the action potential will be fired. Otherwise, there will be no action potential and the EPSP will die out. Now, what are the properties of EPSP? Since it is the graded type of response, it is proportional to the strength of a stimulus. It can be summated. If large enough, it can fire the action potential. Okay, and action potential is produced at the trigger zone because voltage gated channels, they are present over there. Okay, so post synaptic potential of this EPSP should be of plus 20 millivolt to produce the action potential. Okay, trigger zone is the area of axon hillock plus the initial segment portion of axon just before the first node of Renvier. Here is the first node of Renvier. Myelin sheath starts from here. So it's just before the first node of Renvier, the portion of the axon, which is known as the initial segment. Now, how the inhibitory postsynaptic potential or IPSP is produced. Now, the inhibitory postsynaptic potential is produced when a neurotransmitter is released from the presynaptic terminal and it binds with the receptors on the postsynaptic membrane and it opens the chloride or the potassium channels. The chloride, being the negative ion, will move inside because high concentration of chloride is present in the ECF. It will move inside and it will causes the membrane to become more negative and more away from the threshold value. So the action potential will not going to be fired and inhibition of the postsynaptic neuron is going to take place. Similarly, if there is opening of potassium channel, also the potassium is a positive ion, but since high potassium is present inside the membrane, so in the intracellular fluid, so the potassium will leak out, will move out from intracellular towards extracellularly, creating negativity inside and creating a state of hyperpolarization of the postsynaptic membrane. So either of opening of chloride or the potassium channel, the membrane potential will move far away from the threshold value and the action potential will not be fired. And this type of potential, which is developed due to the opening of chloride and potassium channels, is known as the inhibitory postsynaptic potential. It is also a type of graded potential and its strength depends on the intensity of the stimulus. Now here is more explanatory diagram. You can see over here that whenever the neurotransmitter is the excitatory neurotransmitter and it opens the calcium or the sodium channels, they will move inside. Now the membrane potential, which was at the minus is a resting state, it has now over here it has shown that it is reached to minus 45, means a threshold is achieved. And if threshold is achieved at this if this current move towards the initial segment or the trigger zone and there the threshold is achieved, then the action potential will be fired. In the inhibitory type, if a neurotransmitter is an inhibitory type, that it opens the chloride or the potassium channels, you can see the potassium outflux and chloride influx causes the membrane potential to become far more negative and the neuron is said to be inhibited and no action potential will be generated at the trigger zone. Okay, so this is the EPSP in a positive direction, this is the IPSP in a negative direction. Okay, here you can see the summated potential. The EPSP can be summated if two neurons are there and their potential is summated, and summated potential when reaches a threshold value, it can fire the action potential. But here, since EPSP has not reached a threshold value, so the action potential is not fired over here. But the summated EPSPs can fire action potential because a threshold is reached. So we discussed in a previous slide that usually a single APSP does not bring the membrane towards the threshold value. So excitation of single presynaptic terminal on the surface of a postsynaptic neuron almost never excites the neuron. Okay, because the potential change is very little, and I told you we need a 20 millivolt change is required to bring the membrane towards the threshold value, because the amount of neurotransmitter which is released by a single terminal is actually very small. and it bring only about a change of 1 millivolt, and we need 20 millivolts is normally required to reach a threshold for excitation. So this, you know this, that EPSP and IPSP, since they are the type of graded potential and they can be summated, so their summated potentials is large enough to bring the membrane towards the threshold value, and it is of two type. Everyone knows that summation is of two type: temporal and spatial type of summation. Now here you can see this is a neuron, and then the graded potentials, how they are added up, and all. If we take this is a postsynaptic neuron, and there are three presynaptic terminals ending on single postsynaptic neuron. These three are excitatory neurotransmitters. These are the excitatory neurons and causes excitation in the postsynaptic neuron. Now what happened, that all of these three terminals, they excite the neuron, this postsynaptic neuron, and that it means that they are releasing the excitatory neurotransmitter which is opening the calcium or the sodium channels. For example, if they are opening the sodium channel, sodium influx occur and the potential is being generated by all these three neurons. Now their potential is added up, it's summated, and the summated potential is now moving towards the trigger zone. At the trigger zone, if the threshold is achieved, the action potential is fired. Here the action potential is fired. It means their summated potential is at the threshold and the action potential is fired. Okay. In this case, here we can see that there are two excitatory potentials and one inhibitory potential. Okay, so what happens, that these two neurons, these presynaptic terminals, they are causing excitation, means they are opening the sodium or the calcium channels, but this red one, it is a inhibitory one, means it is opening potassium or the chloride channel. So now again summation is going to take place, and the resultant summated potential when reaches the trigger zone is not at the threshold. Okay, for example, these two, they are increasing the potential towards plus 20 millivolt. 10 is provided by this, 10 millivolt is provided by this, but this is causing, again it is an inhibitory, so it is, for example, giving a minus 10 millivolt of potential. So when it is summated, the net potential, I told you, must be plus 20 millivolt, but it is less than plus 20 millivolt. By the time it reaches the trigger zone, the action potential is not fired in this case. Okay, so as the summated potential should be at the threshold to fire the action potential, here in this case the summated potential, they are below the threshold, so no action potential is generated in this case. So both of these diagrams, they are showing the example of the spatial type of summation, in which more than one neuron, they are acting on the postsynaptic membrane. Okay. So we have discussed that if an EPSP is decreasing the membrane potential to a negative value, but an EPSP is increasing the potential, and these two effects completely or partially nullify each other. And if the summated potential is not reaching the threshold value, the action potential is not going to be fired. So it's the importance is of the summated potential at the trigger zone. Summated potential, if it is at a threshold value, then only the action potential is fired. The resting state value of neuron is minus 70 millivolts, and if a threshold of minus 55 millivolts is achieved, then only the action potential will be fired. So if a neuron is excited by an EPSP, and an inhibitory signal from another source reduce the postsynaptic potential to less than threshold, thus turning off the activity of the neuron, and the action potential is not going to be fired. So here you can see that simultaneous excitation and inhibition. One is inhibitory input, other is excitatory. Both effects will be nullified and the action potential will not be fired. Okay, now let's discuss few VCQs. What would happen to the strength of action potential if supra-threshold stimulus is applied to a neuron compared to a threshold stimulus? So when we are giving the supra-threshold stimulus, what will happen to the strength of the action potential? Will it become twice then that produced by the threshold stimulus? It will be same as produced by the threshold stimulus, stronger than threshold stimulus, or it will be weaker than the threshold stimulus. So, since action potential, you all know it obeys all or none law. It occurs in all or none fashion. So, it will be, even if you give a suprathreshold stimulus, this the strength of the action potential will remain the same as produced by the threshold stimulus. Okay. Now the electrical signals, they gather and accumulate in which part of the motor neuron to initiate an action potential? In the dendrites, in the axon hillock, terminal axon, or in the node of Ranvier. So look at the question carefully, that where the action potential actually is initiated. You all know that at the dendrites and soma, there are the ligand gated or the mechanically gated channels, and there is a generation of graded potential. And when this graded potential reaches the trigger zone, and there the voltage gated channels are open and action potential is fired. So action potential is initiated in the motor neuron at the axon hillock. Since trigger zone is not written over here, but the axon hillock is a part of the trigger zone. Okay, so the correct answer here will be the axon hillock. Yes, another question. Fast, fast excitatory postsynaptic potential, yani EPSP. It's a consequence of increased chloride conductance, can be produced by increase in sodium conductance, can be produced by decrease in calcium conductance, occurs in skeletal and smooth muscles. So what could be the correct answer? Because it's the EPSP, it's excitatory postsynaptic potential. So it will not be due to the increased chloride conductance, because increased chloride conductance will causes IPSP, development of IPSP. It can be produced by increase in sodium conductance. Yes, it is correct. Can be produced by decrease in calcium conductance. No, decreased calcium conductance means IPSP. It occurs in skeletal and smooth muscles. No, this is developed in a postsynaptic neuron. So this IEPSP is developed in the neurons. So the correct answer is B. Now, an action potential in a nerve fiber occurs when its membrane potential is hyperpolarized to a critical level, is associated with transient increase in membrane permeability to sodium ions, is associated with transient decrease in membrane permeability to potassium ions, has amplitude which varies directly with the strength of the stimulus. Now, action potential occurs when its membrane potential is hyperpolarized. It's false, because it reaches a threshold value, then the action potential is going to be fired. So it's wrong. B is, it is associated with increase in membrane permeability to sodium ions. Yes, during an action potential in the neuron, the membrane permeability to sodium ions increases. Also, there is increase in the permeability of potassium ion. So this answer is wrong. C. And its amplitude obeys the all or none law. It does not varies with the strength of the stimulus. The action potential strength actually, the amplitude of the action potential does not vary with the strength. It obeys all or none law. This is the property of the graded potential. Thank you, student. Thanks for listening. Any problem, any queries, you can discuss me on my email address.